Today, Ryan and I have kind of a unique preview for Galactic Cruise achievements. I don't know much about it at all. In fact, I've not even played Galactic Cruise. Ryan has played a lot of Galactic Cruise and he has some experience with achievements, but he can't say much about it. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what we're at right now, because the whole nature of this achievements expansion is that you want to be surprised.
Yes.
This is kind of, it's not legacy at all, but
Nope.
it is a campaign. But what it really is a way to add some flavor into your Galactic Cruise games.
Even more flavor.
Even more flavor by giving you these achievements to complete, by opening boxes. And the last thing I want to do is ruin anyone's surprise, because for me, playing through the achievements, some of those boxes you open are like, it feels like a legacy game. You know those moments in like Pandemic Legacy where you
Yeah,
open
you're
the
like,
box
what?
and you're like, this is the game now? So it was a very cool experience. And by the time I was done playing through it, I did unlock every box. So that was
wow.
fun. Yeah.
So let's back up for a second. For those of you out there who don't have experience with Galactic Cruise, I will be your proxy for this interview. I'm going to ask Ryan, first and foremost, tell me what the big hook is with Galactic Cruise. I know that it is a heavier game experience, kind of in the Vital Lacerda sort of esque weight class. I know there's worker placement,
Yep.
but tell me a little bit more about it. What's the big hook?
I mean, for me, the worker placement in here is good. Like you're right when it was like it feels inspired by Vital and it was inspired by Lacerda's designs. But the worker placement, I love the way it works. Like, and I especially love playing like the advanced mode, which is what I always play, where you mix up all the actions.
That's the variability that comes in.
Yeah, like there's like a starter set of actions that are paired together, and that's a really good way to learn the game, because it lets you see what all the actions do in a very almost like a hand-holdy way of like,
Okay.
first you want to do this and then you want to do this, and they pair them together for you, and it's like nice and sweet. But then when you play the advanced mode, you mix and match them, and some of the actions that work well together might be on opposite sides of this board. So the whole way it works is like you're putting a worker down, maybe even like bumping somebody off, but you're putting a worker down and you're taking two actions, the same action twice or both actions available to you. But as you kind of expand your network, you're putting these developments out that give you access to more and more actions. You start to connect some of these worker placement spots to the ones adjacent. So you go from having two actions to having like 6 actions available to you as these developments come out.
Interesting.
You can build your own developments. You can use other people's by paying them money. So for me, that's a hook, because it is always a puzzle of looking at the board and being like, where do I want to build these developments? Where do I want to put my guys to take the best efficient turn possible and still get to where you want to go, right? And there's things the game does to help you with that. There's like these scientist meeples in every game. You're going to have a scientist tile that gives them special abilities. You've got these tech tiles that go across the top that you can earn. Every game has 4 different tech tiles, and those will help you do some of the things in the game. Not to mention the variability in like what you're trying to do every game changes. Your goals change every game. Like the tiles that come out change every game. So it is a very variable experience. And I think that's the big draw too, because no 2 games of it feel like, this is not a game where you can sit down and say, I'm going to do this again because it worked last game, because the actions are going to be in different places, or that tile, that linchpin ability, that tech is not there this game, or the agenda card that you took great advantage of, you're not going to draw it this game. So you always have to approach it with a new strategy in mind.
So would you say in the basic setup, when they're paired together for you, are all of those locations then such that you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll do one of each. But then when you get to the advanced, you set it up and there's going to be some locations where you're like, well, you're never doing both of those. You're going to probably go to that location and do one of them twice.
Right.
Instead,
Or try to get a development there
to
so that you can
expand it.
expand out and take better action. Yeah.
Now in Galactic Cruise, what thematically are you doing?
You're going on a Galactic Cruise.
I mean, I
so
figured
like,
that.
okay, I like space games anyway. I was like attracted to this game. It's a tool did phenomenal
Yes.
artwork. And the fact that it's a very thematic game, you're launching cruise ships is effectively what you're doing. And it's like a huge multi-step process. Everything you're doing in the game is to build up these cruise ships. You're literally building them. You're booking a flight. You're attracting passengers to come on to your cruise ship. You want them to do excursions while they're on your cruise ship. You have to have resources, food to feed them, fuel to travel, oxygen to keep your cruise ship oxygenated. So basically everything you're doing on the board is all in service of like this big moment where you launch your cruise ship like out into space. And that is like a really cool, like there's this like countdown, like 5 steps. It counts 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 to launch. And you're doing these different things. And it's just like a really satisfying feeling. And if you do it right, you're scoring a ton of points every time you launch. And then as your cruise ship is like in space, it's visiting, like it's very thematic to like what a cruise ship is. You have like days in space where they're hanging out on the ship, and then you'll reach like destinations, and then they can go like do an excursion at the destination. So it feels very thematic in that. But like my favorite part about this game, and they really lean into this with the achievements expansion, is how it feels so thematic to in-world. Like your player aid is your employee handbook. And like there's a letter that comes with it that's from the CEO of the Galactic Cruise company or whatever. And everything just feels like it was in this living world. And I think they really like nailed it when they talked about the achievements expansion.
Yeah. So with achievements, you were saying earlier a lot of the thematic stuff. Does the achievement and also how you never know how you're going to go about it in terms of how you're going to approach playing. Does the achievements make that even more so that
for
respect?
Sure. I mean, for sure. And in two ways. So like I can't talk a lot about specifics, but in general, I can talk about my experience playing. I've played many games with different groups of people now. The thing that achievements adds, number one, is literally the achievements. This alone already changes the game because at the very, very start, when you play your first game with the achievements, it gives you like a little box to open. And these are like prototype boxes. They don't look like this. They're going to be like envelope things. I don't know. They look really cool. But I have these like 3D printed white ones. They give you one box to open, which is a starting module. And they've talked about this online. It's Zoe, who is a new worker you can place. She acts kind of like one of the scientists. She has her own bonus tiles. So every game you play with Zoe, you're putting out a different tile and it's going to give her a different power. So like I have one right here. When Zoe bumps somebody, you get 2 of your income bonuses, 2 of your funding bonuses, which is really powerful. And you can take Zoe by going to her location and bumping her. She comes to your player board. So like she is going to be passed around the table quite a bit. But again, this power is going to determine how well she's used. So this is one example I can talk about because they've already announced it. And this is a module that you can use right at the start of achievements. But every single box you open is going to add things like this. And so it changes up the game in a variety of ways. It gives you new ways to go about doing the things you're doing. But also then the achievements themselves. When you sit down to start the game, you're looking at this blank board that is 12 achievements. And I can't tell you what they are, but they are not easy to complete. And every time you complete one of these 12 achievements, you get to find one of these boxes and open it. Inside each one of these boxes, there is a module of some kind, more content. Maybe it's more content that was already in the game, or maybe it's new content like variable player powers is a thing I can say are in there. There's new tokens that get added to the board. There's new tiles that get added into the game. There's some new cockpits. Like there's a lot of stuff that gets added into the game as you open these. But what also gets added is a harder version of that achievement. So when you complete the achievement the first time, you're like, that was really hard. Then they're like, here's an even harder version that you're going to struggle to complete. If you get it the second time, you get your certificate up on the wall of fame. And as you add certificates, you get to even open up some bigger boxes. So it's a lot. And so it gives you like not only like, you know, variability that changes up the game, but it gives you this concept of like, well, this game, I'm not going to worry about my strategy. I want to complete that achievement because I think I can do that.
Interesting.
And if you do it, you get to like write your name in the book. Like you get to sign it. Like it's a whole process. You get to open the box and like add all that content in. So there's this element of like, I want my name in there as much as possible. So I'm going to complete these achievements as soon as I can.
So is the game, I know we said it's not a legacy game
at
all, but I'm seeing here, I'm looking in this achievements book
prototype rule book, by the way.
Prototype, everything here is prototype, but there are places for stickers in this rule book. Again, it's not a legacy game, but based on what you were just saying and based on what I'm seeing here, is it such that you're going to play this over X number of sessions, or is it kind of undetermined?
It's very undetermined.
It just depends on how well you achieve things.
Right. It depends on like 100%. It depends on how well you achieve things. Now I'll say that I don't want to say that we cheated a little bit because we didn't cheat.
Sounds like they cheated.
But I wanted to see as much of this content as possible. So what we did with my group is when we sat down, we kind of looked at the achievements together and we were like, I'm going to kind of go for this one. And, you know, my friend, you know, Bob was going to go for this one and David and Mike, they were going to go for these. And we kind of spread them out a little bit. And then we tried to achieve them. But even though we did that, there were still moments where it was like, oh, I see an opportunity. I know. Sorry, David. I know you said you were like gunning for this, but I can do it right now. So like, I'm going to do it because I want my name in the book. So like, even though we did sit down and decide to do it that way, It came out with this natural just desire to be like, oh, I'm in the
Sure.
right spot. I can get this one knocked out, because it's fun to be the one to sign it. Like there's a level of like fame, I guess, because it's always going to be in there. You were the first one to ever complete this achievement. And I think it's going to vary based on the group. It's like, I don't know if you've ever played Dorf Romantic, but the way they had kind of those achievements, that's a cooperative game. But this, like, you're going to sit down there and it's going to be out. And I see some groups might be like, oh, if I get one, I get one. Oh, I got this one, this game. That's great. We're going to unlock some content. But I don't think people are going to say like what we did, where it's like, let's try to knock out as many as possible.
Sure.
Because the idea is that you keep these achievements with you as you're playing this game with any group of people, because it's not like a narrative campaign. It's just something that keeps adding to your game. And you might want to play like, let's bring out my copy, because I've completed 6 achievements. I have 6 modules added in. You don't have these modules added in because you haven't completed these achievements yet.
So are you ultimately then going to be left with this game that has all these things or all these options?
All these options, right? And again, I'm the kind of player, I've said this before, who always wants to add everything. And in achievements, as we unlocked achievements, we'd go on to the next game. We kept adding everything we'd unlocked before, like just layering it all together.
You would.
I would. I mean, that's how I like to play the games. And I think a lot of people that are playing this will. And I don't want to spoil anything too much, but I will say that by the time you unlock all 12, so there's at least 12 boxes. I can say that because they've said that. There's at least 12 boxes. There's one for every achievement, and then there's some other things that you might unlock in other ways as you're putting your certificates on the wall or whatever. By the time it's done, you have a bunch of different modules, but I never felt like it was an overwhelming amount.
Okay.
And it might be because of the way they introduce, like you talked about the rules stickers. So like you might, after your first game, might introduce 1 or 2 new modules. Then you're playing your first game with that, and then you're familiar with them. And then your next game, you unlock another one. You take out the rules sticker, add the rules to the rule book. Now you've added another one. None of them are like so complex that you're like, oh my gosh, this is too much to learn. But they do add some, I wish I could talk more about it. But again, they don't want me to ruin the surprise. I don't want to ruin the surprise. There are some very cool things. And the last thing that we unlocked, I was like, oh my God.
I'm going to cut you off right there. Although I have to say, hearing you talk about it, this happens on the channel a lot. It's usually Ryan or Jeremy Howard talking about some game that they've experienced that maybe I haven't, maybe Emily hadn't in the past. And we're like, oh, well, now I want to play it. And Galactic Cruise is a game I've wanted to play. Heavier games are not typically my thing. But this does sound like a really cool new way for people to basically just play this. You're still playing Galactic Cruise,
right?
But with this whole thing going on, and then Galactic Cruise is going to evolve as you go through that whole thing.
Yeah, it's really cool the way it does. And you know, some of these, like I'll say, like by the time we got done with our plays, I still have not completed all 12 basic achievements, and of the harder achievements. So like I said, every time you complete an achievement, inside the box, there's a sticker that adds a harder version.
Yeah.
I call them level 2 achievements. We only completed 3 total level 2 achievements. I'm looking at some of those going, this is going to require, like some of them require very specific setups. They require you to do very specific things. Some of them are like, you're going to have to decide that you want to go for that achievement because, you know, and I think that's their hope, is that people will sit down at the table and look at these achievements and be like, are you going for that? I see you going for that achievement. I think I can get there first. Like you might forego some actions in the game. You might forego getting your best score possible because you wanted to hyper focus on like, I want to get this achievement out because I want to open up another box.
Interesting. I can see some players doing that. I find it hard to believe that you would forego your best score.
Let me say that maybe getting your best score might be some of the achievements. Like there are definitely some achievements that are like, that encourage you to play the game.
Well,
yeah. Well, I wouldn't say any of them were like tank your game. Like there's not, I can
sure.
spoil that. There's
one that's carrots dangled. Maybe
there's carrots dangled. It's never going to be like, don't launch your ship. Like that's not fun. Like they're all things.
Play something else.
They're all achievements that are encouraging you to play, but they might encourage you to play with different strategies.
Interesting.
Like I'm the kind of person that when I play a game like Galactic Cruise, I'm generally pretty well spread out. And, you know, I like to take my time. I like to build up. I like to score a lot of points, of course, like who doesn't?
Now, you're not giving anything away here.
I'm not going to give anything away, but I'll say some of these achievements forced me to play differently. Or to like min-max and be like, I'm going all in on this aspect of the game because I want to knock this achievement out. And I do wish I could say some examples, but I really can't. And again, you don't want me to, because part of the fun of this for
It's
me
the exploration.
was
It's the discovery.
100%. Like even just pulling that out and flipping to the list of achievements and being like, whoa, okay, this is what they want us to do, was a cool experience. And I know that they're not going to ruin it. I think they're going to reveal one achievement so they can kind of show you how it works on their page. And the other 11 are going to be secret.
That's very interesting. So if you want to know more about Galactic Cruise achievements, too bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We've shared everything that we can. So if you want to get down in the comments below and ask us whatever you want to ask us, we'll see. Ryan will get down there and answer under the threat of death from the publisher what he can answer. Until next time, though, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.